Awesome. Should we wait a few, what, like a 1 minute?
Yeah, you can wait a few minutes. You can wait five. You wait until 5 past if you want. Also, I think Mike, you should be able to come up on stage. Unless you're not able to, then okay, perfect.
I'm here. Thanks.
Sweet. So I think we probably have quorum here. Um, so just to kick things off, I think most of you have met and worked with Shilin at this point. She joined Livepeer a couple months ago, leading our product management practice in the ecosystem. And we think now is a great time to transition a chairmanship of this call to her. So I'll still be around. I still have opinions that I'd like to share from time to time. But I think you're in really good hands with Sheilin. She'll be handling agenda creation and generally guiding the discussion moving forward. So please join me in wishing a warm welcome and good luck in managing this complex beast that is the Livepeer ecosystem.
Awesome. Thanks, Hunter. Cool. So, little bit about myself. A quick intro. So, as Hunter said, I just joined Livepeer a few months ago, and focusing on building innovative solutions at the intersection of video technology and AI. My background's being product growth, ecosystem development, and strategic partnerships. And really hope to leverage this awesome forum to build collaboration between our core dev teams and improve uh, in, improve the engagement for our Livepeer ecosystem. As a chair of this meeting, I think this is super important for us to collaborate, right? Like, and align our efforts to drive the ecosystem forward. And I aim to facilitate this discussion as a neutral party. And I saw like everybody had a voice in this room, so feel free to raise your concerns, find collaboration points together. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So to kick things off, do I saw like every team already post the update there. So do we want to go around the table to just quickly, provide 1-2 minutes update? Rick, I saw you have an awesome background. Do you want to start? Yeah, seems could not hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, I don't know if this background I found online. I can give it in the chat if people like it as well. Yeah, of course, I can do an update from my side. Already did an update in the terrestrial call yesterday, so people still should have that recording as well. That will be posted soon. So in this phase, we are really working on working together with Inc. to create the first AI real-time pipelines. The first real-time pipeline that has been finished or is nearly finished at the end-to-end is the SEM2. So that will be the first real-time pipeline. But apart from that, we're also we will be working after that on other real-time pipelines. Next to it, we have been helping Inc. with getting hardware information on the system so that we can see how many GPUs are there on the Livepeer network. This has been finished by Brett already, I think 2 weeks ago. I'm now reviewing it today. I did the AI remote worker version. And we are working on orchestrator features and improvements right now. And I think that sums it up. Apart from that, we're also working on getting the bounties in and all the features that we did during the last period, and we are currently finalizing our roadmap, or at least our next roadmap, and are looking to get a new proposal out this month. So I think that's the update from my side, from my team. Still excited to be here, of course, as always, and I will leave it to that. If there are any questions, let me know, and we'll share the wallpaper.
Awesome. Cool. Mike, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'll share the agenda so folks could at least see what I'm talking about. But guys can see that.
Yep.
All right. So as I listed on the current agenda for today, we have pretty much similar priorities as we have been for the last few calls. We're trying to get the Livepeer Cloud SPE AI metrics and visibility proposal, and basically adding the performance data for the leaderboard for AI stuff, the proposal 2 that we've been working on, waiting for that to get PRs merged in the respective core products, Go Livepeer, Explorer, and also the serverless API. We've handed everything over to the Livepeer Inc. team. We're just waiting for them to work through their priorities and deploy this to production. So that's our number one priority, making sure we're there to support anything that's needed for that. Number 2 is the ongoing support and maintenance of our Livepeer Cloud gateways. So making sure that we've updated to the 8.0 release was the number one priority we worked on. Finally got that all worked out. Making sure the AI job tester is up to the latest models as well, and we're using that. And then finally, recently we, had some conversations with Zeline about, the potential working on the stream management app Bounty that's currently published on the Bounty board. Fact finding, trying to gather details there to see what's happening and how we could actually fit in, what the scope looks like, what the timeline looks like. And I think we have a meeting coming up today to review some more details and ask some questions, but that's been our focus and that will be our ongoing focus.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a few questions for you, but I will leave the update first, and yeah, related to the AI updates and the AI leadership board. Awesome.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, we can do it now or after. It's up to you.
Yeah, I did not see a current team there. Yeah, so but Tom, if you could give an update, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So the Ink team's been heads down integrating all the little bits we've been working on in silos for the past few weeks, and the goal is by the end of the week we'll have the showcase app that we've demoed previously. That'll be functional. You'll be able to create an account, log in, create API keys, and we'll have our first end-to-end example of a pipeline running within that. So once you've created your account, you'll be able to select the one initial pipeline we're doing, push video in, and see video getting streamed out.
That's exciting. Cool. Yeah, I saw seems there's no discussion topics from the core dev team yet, but I actually have a few topics. Also, like you guys just give the also update, it actually spark some of my new questions. So now should we move on to the open discussion? Awesome, cool. Yeah, so I think Mike, you mentioned like we try to get try to get to the latest version, right? So my question is, right now, among all the top 100 orchestrators, yeah, actually thanks for Brad's gateway data, it seems only like 24% are on the latest version. So I'm actually curious, with our December release, what's our strategy to activate and engage, those orchestrators to move on to the latest version?
Well, I think there's a couple things involved in that. Obviously, I think that, orchestrators are going to upgrade when the gateways that are providing the work, basically say we only support a minimum version of X. And currently, that is something that Livepeer Inc. manages their gateways. I think the AISPE has some of their own gateways, and the Cloud SPE also runs a gateway. So we make announcements in the Livepeer Discord saying, hey, this gateway is being updated at this time to this release, and our minimum version is going to be X, whatever that version number is. And right now, the Livepeer Cloud Gateway, we are running 0.8.0, but I think we still support like a release or two back, like the 0.7.9 release, I think is what we're supporting on the back version. I have to go check it out. But again, if orchestrators want to continue to get work, they're going to have to make sure that they keep up with the gateways that are providing the work and what their minimum versions are. And I think that's been kind of like the de facto way of doing it. Now, Rick or Tom, if you want to jump in there, please feel free.
Yeah, I can give a quick the same summary I stated. So for the stream meet and supermodel jobs, so people will be already, like you say, cut off from the having these jobs because you need the newest version for that one. So you need really 0.8.8 to get these jobs. I stated that that we should have this job last week. It took a little bit longer. We had a meeting with supermodel yesterday, and they will start sending new jobs this week. So that's basically how we did it now. Like you say, just as the gateways stating when there is a new update needed. Apart from that, I think it's important to work on allowing people to dynamically update, at least on the runner side, so that the runners can automatically update and that people only need to update their own Go Livepeer software. That's still in development.
Awesome.
Which team's working on that, Rick?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Which team? So you mentioned the automatic updates to the runner. Which team's working on that?
So this was asked by Pavel, and it's blocking the deployment for the Inc. team. I'm planning to look into it. I already did one pull request that will auto-download the latest runners. The only problem there is that I have to look at how we can prevent this from breaking an orchestrator, because you can see that if we add in the current form, as every input and output is routed to the Go Livepeer software, it can break when we add new inputs and outputs to a route. So this is something that I have to discuss with the Inc. team. But it's something that we should implement soon.
Can we solve it now?
Can we solve it now? Yes, we can. Let me grab the issue where it was discussed. Give me 1 minute. It was not in the thread that I expected it to be in. And otherwise I can give an update without it. So I cannot find it right now. So, but I can give an update. So I can give you the pull request. Give me 1 moment. Maybe somebody else can find the thread where it was discussed. But let's go over the pull request that I already created. As we have everybody here already. So this pull request, basically what it does, it auto downloads the latest Docker image. There are some problems still that need to be worked out on this pull request, and that's is worth discussing as a topic. So one of the problems is if you do this dynamically without having an asynchronous process, if you get a cold container, dynamic container loading, you will yeah, you will block a request on the network. So what you have to do there, if you want to use that route, so download pull the containers when they are requested, and I don't think it's the best route. But then you have to make sure that you return an error, no capacity error, and then it gets to another orchestrator while the container downloads. I think the better option there, since orchestrators already have this configuration file, you could pull the containers on startup. That will be the best option to do this, and then you could run like a background process to update containers as they come in. The only problem there is that we have to add some extra versioning, and so there has to be a link between the Go Livepeer software and the runner software to ensure that they are compatible. And that becomes the more complicated thing. So the first thing that we can solve for orchestrators that optimizes operations is really pulling these containers on startup, ensuring that people don't have to pull them manually. But then becomes the question, how do we implement this automatic pulling and ensure that the version is correct? And in my opinion, we need to abstract a lot of the things away from the Go Livepeer side to be able to do that in a safe way, because currently it's all typed, at least the batch compute routes. I don't know. I think the real-time are not. Are they typed, Hunter, or I haven't looked into that?
Sorry. Can you restate that? I think that's a question that might be better answered by Tom.
Okay, Tom, I can look it up myself as well. But for the batch compute, of course, we have this Golang bindings. Those are typed, and they will go in a typed way through the whole software, from the gateway to the runner. My question there was, is this also the case for the real time? I can look it up myself as well. But
Is that for the model parameters you're talking about?
yes, exactly. So if
Yeah, so we pass it all the way through as a string in the real-time stuff. Because it'll vary
exactly,
between pipelines.
then for the real time it will work. So the only thing we have to do there, for the batch jobs we should get the same mechanism that's implemented in real time, and then you could do this dynamic updates of the runner at least. But for batch it's a little bit more complicated because people expect this endpoint. So how will you ensure that the documentation still stays the right endpoint? It's not that hard, but you get them as strings inputs. But it becomes a bigger lift than just pulling out images automatically. I will stop there.
Is it? Do you also have to factor in selection here? Like you're talking about the orchestrator returning a capacity error while it's pulling the image, but could there be cases where the gateway is, like, for example, if none of the orchestrators have that image, would the gateway be happy to block and wait?
Yeah, that's basically, it depends on what we want to implement. So they need to both implement the first option, of course, is just at startup. For that, you don't need to, you can block it, but the startup already blocks it, so you can pull the containers before the orchestrator starts up. But if you want to do that asynchronously, you have to indeed ensure that there is no capacity added while the orchestrator is still pulling this container. But then if you have the cold loading, then of course it becomes dynamic. So my feeling here is that you should do it at startup. You can of course pull the latest containers, but it are two separate problems. So it depends on what we want to solve first and what the priority is. Don't know where this thread is. Then I can at least give it.
Awesome. So sounds like we are aligned that this is an important issue to resolve, right? To get hopefully everyone have forcing function to be on the latest version so they can actually utilize the latest feature we have.
Yeah, so the only thing I'm asking from Hunter, because it's easier to do on the real time side and it's harder to do on the bad side. So how do you think we should move forward? I think the first thing is really to do it at the startups at orchestrators, but that's more like orchestrator operations, but it's a bigger problem to solve like the Dynamics runner updates.
Is
Ju-
there a feature level solution here rather than a technical solution possibly? As an example of what this might look like, could we make this opt-in for batch processing and the default for real time, and then use
Yeah.
the normal gateway versioning functionality to force people to update for batch, and just approach it that way instead?
Yeah, I think that's an option to move quicker because, like I say, implementing this for batch will require a full restructure of the pipelines, and that takes a lot longer. So that sounds doable. I can look at it next week. So I think the biggest blocker right now were two things from the Ink team. Those have to be solved first. The first one was that this AI runner flag, image flag, it's not working when you are using pipeline runners. That's an easy fix. I think it's around 10 lines of code. That will help the staging. The second one is the automatic pulling of the containers at startup. That's something that can also easily be done. That will allow staging, and then the like we discussed, the third thing to have orchestrators automatically upload the containers. That's another problem that we can tackle after this. But I think the first two are the most important from the Ink team, if I understood it correctly from Pavel.
Awesome. So Tom, like, do you think this is something like in team a bandwidth to work on?
The bigger issue?
Yeah, the blocker, right? You mentioned.
Yeah, I don't think the Ink team are going to be working on it on the batch side. Right? That's not going to be a priority.
Okay. So then, like, do we have for example, a quick fix that we can do, for example, to make sure at least for the December release, right, we can get people use the latest version.
Yeah, I think that's the three-step solution that we just discussed, and then what Hunter said is the best to do right now. So just ensure that people have this for the real-time version.
Oh. Awesome. Then let's also move on to the next topic. Yeah, like for the AI leaderboard. Yeah, actually, I'm curious. Like, when Mike, you said like stand by and pass along the requirement to the Ink team. Would you mind elaborating a little bit more?
This proposal was built by Livepeer Cloud. We have all of the software running in a staging environment, if you will, that's completely separate. It just happens to be that the code changes that were made were done to the production Livepeer Explorer site, so explorer.livepeer.org, and that site is managed by the Livepeer Inc. team. And the same goes with the API that the site uses. So there's an API and the website. They both are managed by Inc. So all the code changes were done. We've done all our validations. We've gone through a lot of review. There's still some folks reviewing some of the code, and that's part of the delay is that the code reviews need to be finished and the deployment needs to happen. So there's no handing anything off to any team other than, hey, all of the work has been completed, all of the artifacts are in place. Now, Livepeer Inc. just run your process to, deploy this to your environments so that the community can start seeing these new features we created. Does that help provide some
Yeah,
more context for you?
Yeah, definitely. So then I feels like if Ink implement that, they could immediately unblock, right? Like so community could access those insights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean,
It's
all right,
it's
I'll
been
go
waiting
ahead.
on us for a while, right? But we're working on the real time stuff, and it's got
Yeah.
shunted behind that in terms of priority. So unless we reprioritize something, we're still kind of stuck waiting for at least the the end of November, like the first phase of this going live. Then we might be able to get a little SRE capacity back, but I think
Mhm.
until then, we can find somebody to work on it. We're kind of stuck.
So can we set a target date then? Because I feel like we've had this conversation a couple times over the course of the last few calls, and the answer, like the conversation is basically the same. It's like, well, Inc is struggling with capacity. All the stuff's done. Cloud guys are just blocked by Inc. So can we try to set a little target date so this doesn't just keep getting kicked down the road? I definitely understand the constraints, and I don't recommend reprioritizing anything for Inc. But like it would be good to at least set a target date here so that we can like plan around it moving forward.
But how can we set a date without reprioritizing, right? Like we are pretty much at capacity through to the end of the year.
I mean, can we set like December 20th as a hard date here?
It just doesn't really make sense to just pick a date, right? Like, we can say that, but then like if we're 1 week out from that and there's still real time work to do, are we going to drop the real time work and do the leaderboard?
I mean, honestly, like as far as I'm concerned, we have like two options here, right? Like, ultimately, teams are going to be busy, and I know this is a particularly busy period for Inc. But like other teams have the capacity, they just don't have the merge rights. So like either Inc figures out a way to merge it in a somewhat timely fashion, or we cede merge rights to the cloud guys and allow them to facilitate deployment here. Like there are other ways to work around this, but like
The merge,
yeah.
the merge part isn't really. Yeah, we should get it merged. I think we can set a date for. I didn't actually realize that we still hadn't finished reviewing and merging, so we can set a date for that, fit that around other stuff. But it's the deployment piece, like doing, because there are a few different steps of things we need to deploy, and just doing that carefully, making sure, for example, we have database backups before we do the migration. The stuff like that is what is going to take the time.
I thought the Explorer was based entirely on the subgraph.
No,
Okay.
there are database elements as well.
All right, never mind. Well, as a first step, let's get it merged. And I think the rest becomes like it's a little easier to slot in after that.
Okay, so shall we say by Tuesday? We can focus on it on Monday on whatever the open PRs are. Get it merged by Tuesday. I think we'll still be having the same conversation in next time though, but just with deploying rather than merging.
Yeah, well, we'll be moving forward at least.
Okay. Yeah, but Mike, if you could just ping me in Discord again with whichever PRs are still pending. I looked over them all last time. I don't think there should be anything blocking merging them. So if you just send them to me again, I'll get them merged.
All right, I will send over the stuff.
Awesome. Cool. And actually a related topic. So we are actually thinking about creating a public facing product strategy and alongside, priorities from at least for Q1 from all the core dev team and release it to community. So then, community have visibility on all the awesome stuffs we are working on. So I know like Rick, you are getting the new proposal out pretty soon. So I would imagine, you already can, figuring out the Q1 priorities. So curious about for other teams, do you have your Q1 priorities? Are you thinking about the Q1 priorities? And if you could share like a brief version in this call, that would be great. If not, like, we can also leverage the next call. Yeah, just want to get this on your radar.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, I'm still working on it. There are a lot of things in motion since we are working both with Ink on this real time, reviewing other things as well. So it takes me a little bit longer to get this proposal out. Luckily, Sarah did a really good job at managing the financials. So we had some bandwidth apart from what the proposal originally said, the treasury proposal. But I can give a quick update what the plan is from my group. So my group will help Inc. with the real-time stuff. We will implement what we stated now, 5 real-time pipelines in the first quarter at least. As a beginning to shoot at that level, but try to implement 10 would be even more amazing. So there will be up to 2 or 2.5 engineers working on that. Apart from that, we think it's really important to still do the batch processing. So we will keep working with Supermodel and StreamEat to ensure that features get implemented. To do the batch processing, we also want to make batch processing more generic, something that we just explained to that people can easily add pipelines on the network. For example, Supermodel said we have our engineering team, but how do we get it on the Livepeer network? And that's the second area. So real-time AI support with the Ink roadmap, batch support so that we keep fees on the network. And the last one is there really orchestrator operations. And that's something that we work on with Sealing together to ensure that we have the supply to do this. And with orchestrator operation, you can think of better ways, the things that we just discussed. So automatic pooling of the containers. So on the batch side, also as on the real-time side. The automatic model pooling, it's also about cold loading for the batch side. Other features, there are things that we are thinking of is for example, supplying orchestrators with a webhook, so that people can automate their spin-ups with cloud compute if they want, so that they can better organize that, and working with orchestrators closely to see which points are missing on the orchestrator side to ensure optimal operations. So we already had a request from Sundra, I think so, on the external containers. The documentation has been in. That gives people a lot of more availability to scale their operations more efficiently. Something that we haven't discussed yet with the Ink team and also not with Sealing yet is the ability to change the container management system to something as with Ray Surf, but this hasn't had an owner, so that could also something that we look into. So basically, to summarize it up, we keep supporting batch jobs. We help Ink with the real time, and apart from that, we do orchestrator features, and that will be the main 3 areas in the next quarter. I hope that gives an update, and
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer questions or discuss things.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, any questions? Seems there are a lot of our collaboration opportunities. Yeah, with Ink, with Cloud SP, and other teams as well.
Yeah, and I think one exciting thing as well that I shared yesterday is that we are in the process of hiring an AI researcher that will work with an AI researcher at the Ink team to really move quicker on implementing pipelines by supporting engineers with more information about models, and that will be done in collaboration with Ink as well. And I'm currently discussing that with Chung, how we're gonna do that.
Oh, Hunter, I saw you are unmuted. Do you have questions?
I'd be interested to hear, Rick, your philosophy in terms of prioritization of orchestrator improvements, right? Because I think there's a distinction between quality of life related features and features that are bringing core value, for example, by making it simpler to scale the supply side. Can you talk a little bit about how you're approaching that distinction?
Yeah, so I had a list already of things. I'm still working on this proposal. Like I said, there are a lot of things in motion, so I wanted to have it out earlier already. But yeah, there are two areas. So I think the supply side, the things of course that you can do there are different from what you can do for the orchestrators. So the supply side will really be done in collaboration with Sealing, in the sense that she's also looking at increasing supply, and that's something that has to be really closely coordinated with your team as well, Hunter, because that can be things like, for example, optimizing cold model loading, um, in the or changing like the container management system to Ray, that are really bigger items. The automatic pipeline image downloads, again, that is more like an orchestrator feature, because if you make it easier for orchestrators to operate by, for example, taking away all the manual steps, that will also increase supply a little bit. Then the webhook that I want to discuss with your team as well, where you could attach like a Python script, that's again a supply side thing. So there is really indeed this difference, and we have to balance those two. And the orchestrator operations side will be really done in collaboration with orchestrators. We will be available in the water cooler chats to hear feedback from orchestrators, what they want to have improved in their operations. And yeah, more like the network side, optimizing supply on that side, that is something that we really have to do in collaboration with you, because it lets us also, there are a lot of things that the Inc will likely also do.
Thanks.
Yeah, and one thing that I saw that you made a comment about this unified pricing. That's a really big item, so that's something that we have to discuss if we want to do that for the batch jobs as well. What does Rit say?
Yeah, so Rick said, would you like to take more advantage of the bounty board? Yeah, it's a question for all the
Yeah.
SPEs. Yeah, I think that's definitely super, super helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. So I have been working with Hans. So Hans has taken over the bounty program, and really streamlined it. So there will be an update from Hans on that. And I think it's a good opportunity to use that better, because we can really utilize open source contributors. The biggest problem there was last time was really the ability to review pull requests. So that's something that we have to discuss with everybody. For example, by setting a limit of the amount of bounties that groups can put out, and then having like a process in place.
Yeah, maybe I can just come in. Can you hear me, Rick?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can.
Perfect. Yeah, no, this is something that that Hans has been working hard on and is in charge of operationalizing. Would love to get some feedback from also Inc. So Hunter, Tom, Julian, and Mike as well, from a Cloud SP perspective. Is there anything that on the ecosystem side we can do to get more of the community working on these problems? We are planning on bringing more attention to the bounty board moving forward, but it'd be great to get some feedback. So
Well, I
we can
mean,
move forward.
yeah, no, that's good. I like the idea of the board. I think, one of the things that you'll probably find is, having looked at the existing stream management at Bounty, is that there's a lot of detail that's missing, for a development team to go in and pick up a
Hey,
chunk of
Mike, saw
work.
you are unmuted. Are you speaking?
I am. Can you guys not hear me?
I can hear him.
I can hear you now.
Zealand, can you hear me? Apparently not.
Retro.
Yeah, that's
Can you
weird.
hear me?
We
Yeah,
can hear you.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, Rick, thanks for sharing. Yeah, definitely. Like bounty board is super helpful for the development. Yeah, in fact, like we just been leverage the bounty board, right, to create a stream management app, Bounty.
Jeline, can you hear?
Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
because Mike was just commenting on the specs and being
Oh, I see. I
detailed
couldn't hear. Yeah, I
of
couldn't
the
hear
stream
Mike.
management app. So maybe Mike,
Can you hear me now? Zealeen? Wow, that's weird. Only me she cannot hear.
Maybe you're a ghost, Mike.
Good on
I don't
Discord.
exist. I'm AI. Weird. I don't know. I mean, I can try to reconnect, I guess.
Super weird.
Go ahead,
Maybe,
Rich.
maybe Mike, you can finish what you were saying just to finish the thread, and then.
All right. Yeah. So basically, what I was
Mike.
saying is like for a development team, and the folks on the Livepeer Cloud SPE have been working for 20 years in software development. So maybe we're just a little rigid with some of the stuff that we do, but there's a lot of like fact finding and requirements gathering that go involved and go real deep in some of these problems. Like this is a good like the stream management app bounty is a good like introduction to the idea, but I think there's a level of detail that's missing that's going to require a lot of digging and research and fact finding to actually like flesh out what the actual deliverables and work is going to be for this particular bounty. So I mean, if there's work that can be done in advance to like really put some meat on the bones to this document here, it might be a lot easier for us to just pick it up as a chunk and then start building it without much interaction from ink per se. But if there's like a vision or an idea or a very specific detail about what needs to be implemented and where these changes need to be made, that's stuff that whoever picks this particular bounty up is going to have to spend a good amount of time to get ramped up. And then if you look at the very bottom, there's like milestone recommendations to be done by December 13th. My opinion is the amount of detail we need to get to for this thing to be ready to be worked on, it could be, weeks of fact finding. Obviously, we don't want that. We don't want to waste time trying to uncover all the requirements that are needed for this, but we definitely need more than what's there now for us to just go run off and build something.
Yeah, so let me give a little context here. I think the reality is that for anything on a bounty board right now, there is if it's posted by ink, there is a scoping bottleneck. So Mike, you're totally right that there's not enough meat on the bone there. Like it is an insufficient PRD. There are like it's a front end app and there aren't UI designs. I entirely get it, entirely recognize it. But there's just purely a bottleneck here. So I think like there's going to like users of the bounty board are gonna have to walk through a little glass at this point, and frankly, we're at a place, at least internally, where it's easier for me or Sheelan to hop on a 30-minute call with you and walk through the details of what we have in mind than to have like a really, really buttoned up PRD. So like that's just where we're at right now. And happy to like work with you and like hopefully we'll get there over time, but I just want to set expectations that like realistically within this next like 3 to 6 months we're not going to be at a point where we have like enterprise grade like scoping done.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, we've also worked for startups as well, so we know how things are fast and the furious when you're building quickly. So we don't expect that, but I think it's if we start to mature as an ecosystem and we start to get to a point where we can start to onboard teams a lot quicker and get work delivered faster. These are the areas where we're going to have to make some significant improvements. But I think for now, sure, we already have the plans today to meet with Zealeen, hopefully after this call or shortly thereabouts to get into some more of the meat of the issue. And we can surely dig and uncover a lot of the gaps and missing pieces that we need and get answers and track it down. I mean, I get that part too. And I think that's where we are right now, though, is, as a group, we're probably going to spend some cycles just getting a piece of work ready to go so that it can be delivered. So, and I don't think that we're going to be as agile as a result.
Right. No, I hear that. And I guess like Rich, going back to your initial question, like how can we make more use of that board? I think there's a little bit of a tie-in of like sort of like QA and acceptance criteria for stuff that makes it onto the bounty board.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would go a really long way. Because this is a little the stream management one's a little bit of a unique case just because like we're running at certain timelines. But in general, like if we can get to a flow where the folks managing the bounty board can say, well, this is not good enough. This is not a good enough detail for people to pick up this bounty. Like we need more detail in this place and this place and this place. Then maybe we can get to a more actionable set of bounties.
If I could jump in, so one thing I'm thinking about is, and we'll have to I've talked to Rich about this, but if Hans can make some more standardization there. I actually at DevCon went to a talk about EIPs in the Ethereum ecosystem, and I think something similar applies where before they had that system, it was kind of like there wasn't the standard practice of like well what technical details need to be in a bounty or in a proposal to move it forward or to evaluate it or to have teams evaluate it. So I don't know, that might be some inspiration we could take from the Ethereum ecosystem at large. So having some sort of template, so then Mike, you can just pick something up, or people who want to do the bounties can pick something up. So maybe Hans can add that to the kind of bounty process.
Yeah, I think templates are good, but I think there's expertise and skill in particular in like articulating the desired outcomes of software that you want to make changes to. And that requires in-depth knowledge about how the current software works, how the flows go, and what parties are involved and what different APIs, et cetera. There's a lot of depth and knowledge that is needed to craft out a PRD correctly. And I think the templates are going to help definitely, and the process is going to make it more streamlined. But I think there's still to Hunter's point, there's going to be a bottleneck because there's only a certain number of people that have that expertise. I think Hunter, some of the other members of the team that are actually on the ink side driving the requirements of this Cascade project, they have it in their minds right now. And I think a lot of people are working off conversation, but getting some of that detail into documentation is where it's still going to be a bottleneck. And that skilled individual who's busy needs to be brought forward to dump his mind out, basically, or their mind out.
Yeah, I also think that there are two parts of this. One is like the sort of product requirements, but I also think there's a gap for technical scoping in a lot of cases, like specifically how, like the Ink team obviously has opinions on technically how things should be done and their architectural patterns that that we adhere to. I think there's a gap for technical scoping as well.
Yeah, that's next. That comes after the requirements.
Yeah.
Thanks for the feedback. It does help. I mean, I think part of it is who should be on the list of people who ultimately can accept bounties onto the board. I agree that from a QA perspective, there needs to be something, and maybe Hunter, we can follow up on that one. I'm also conscious of time for folks. I know there's a lot of busy folks in the minute, particularly in the run up to Christmas. So, but maybe Hunter, we can take that forward offline.
Yeah, please include Sheila in that conversation as well.
Of course we will.
Awesome. So now to recap, we talk about how to leverage bounty board and also like for product like ecosystem product project roadmap for Q1, right? Rick already shared uh, partial of his goal for Q1. So curious, like for Mike, are you forming your Q1 priorities as well?
Well, yes, I mean, kind of. There's still, like I said, we're still dependent on other members of the ecosystem to, like, for example, we have a backlog of products and ideas that we want to build and work on, but some of those overlap with what the AISBE wants to do. And some of it is it may not be as high of a priority as what Inc.'s trying to do. So we don't want to push our own agenda forward. We want to be able to go in and look at what's AISBE doing, what's Livepeer Inc. doing, how can we find ways to jump into their work streams and take the load off somehow. So yes, we can pick and choose our own stuff, but ultimately we don't want to drive our vision. We want to participate in Livepeer's vision that is being crafted by this community. So albeit now AISBE and Inc. are the major players, I think we want to fit in there. We don't want to drive our own agenda. We just want to participate and move someone else's vision forward. And I think Inc.'s been doing that good for the years. As you can see, there's an AI initiative in general, and that's an Inc. vision. So participating is probably the best way that we can help now versus trying to drive our own goals forward.
Well, I want to propose a reframing of that, though, Mike. Like, I definitely get where you're coming from, but if you look at how the AISBE has developed, they do have independent priorities, right? Like we're all working within the larger Livepeer project, and like we're swimming in the same direction, but they're like the AISBE is bringing stuff to the table and saying, look, we think that this needs to be addressed. And I think that makes for a richer execution environment, because then like Inc.'s not the only one pushing certain ideas based on what we've seen. You guys are out there, you're seeing different things. So like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's value to you bringing in, like, you mentioned that you have a certain idea of things that you might like to see. Bring those to the table, and then we can have a conversation about, like, if like maybe Rick thinks those are the wrong things to focus on, or we think those are the right things to focus on. But we need to be having that conversation as an ecosystem, and the more independent stakeholders with independent visions for how this progresses, the better off we'll be. Like, this is part of increasing the decentralization of the ecosystem writ large.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, as you saw, we definitely have stuff that we were building towards as a vision, and some goals that we set for expanding media servers and adding aggregated data analytics. So we have those things as well. I didn't want to come off saying that we're not driving that. We will absolutely, but I think we're looking right now as we just finished up a work stream, we looking at, where can we perhaps have an impact right now on the most crucial components. We saw that Doug announced the Cascade project, and I think it's going to require many hands to get that stuff off the ground and become, realized. So yes, longer term planning outside of like, the next 3 or 6 months, absolutely. We'll have a voice, we'll have an opinion, and we can talk about those longer poll items. But I think I was just referring to, like, hey, we got the next 3 to 6 months. What are we doing? Like, where can we point our guns and start firing? You know what I mean? Like, so I agree with you, and we will absolutely talk more on the broader roadmap vision for the future. But I didn't realize that's what she was asking of me.
I see. Yeah, I can reframe it. Yeah, but basically, that's why it's important, right? To first get together the ideas, and then have visibility, and then like prioritize. Yeah, we need to have like first pour in those ideas. Yeah, to really see what teams are up to. Yeah. So
Okay, now
definitely.
we have our backlog, and I'll try to gather, dust it off. It's been sitting there for a while because we've been working on some other tactical things, but I'll definitely dust off the backlog and and look at where some of our bigger scoped items were and where we were thinking we might want to focus on. Analytics is definitely an area of our background, so I think that might still be an area where I don't think anyone's still talking about it, right? There's some work there, but there's big needs in the analytics side of the community. So that was one of our areas where we definitely shine. So we'll work on that.
Maybe just to come in on that, I mean, we do have 515k LPT sat in an on-chain treasury, which is almost becoming a risk if we don't thinks, you know, okay, Mike, you might spend, I know it might be 2 or 3 hours, maybe longer, scoping something out that is a key challenge that we want to work on, or that was a backlog to work on. What ecosystem what I can then do with a team is with thinking in the future of actually working with recruitment agencies and going outside of Livepeer ecosystem as well, either to recruit individuals or work with organizations. You know, we were discussing with Nethermind about one potential SPE. We were discussing with Sentive Network about another SPE. So it's really helpful, obviously, from a visibility perspective, to start scoping out these problems to what could be additional SPEs, so we can start allocating some of this capital that sat in the treasury.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I missed the hand that we have on Google, but I think that's a really good point. It changed a little bit from the first period when it was just my group, your group, and the ecosystem doing this engineering, not a lot of bandwidth, so we had to be a little bit more broadly scoped. But my group as well in this period is more clearly scoping, which makes it easier to work between teams. We also are working with ceiling to ensure that there is no overlap. So I think there are a lot of things there. There are so many hands needed, and it doesn't need to be a one SPE. Every SPE has their own IDs. My group is aligned with Inc. on a lot of things, but we also have some things that we think are important that Inc. thinks are less important. And yeah, looking forward to discuss it with you as well, Mike. We can do a lot of meetings as well, so that I can give you more clarity. I'm planning to write everything down. Really in the next week at least, to have everything down. I discussed with Ceiling as well to have it discuss it with her at Tuesday, so there will be more clarity from my team. And I think that makes it really a lot easier to work on these things, because although I'm planning to grow my team, and I think Inc. is also planning to grow. It's better to do it with multiple SPEs. We need a lot of people. We need a lot of hands, and I think we can then really realize the dream of building this decentralized AI network and improving the decentralized AI space there.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, well said. Yeah, basically, I treat my role is, it's trying to reduce the overlap and actually help each SPE, right, gain the autonomy, right, like, to focus on the big bets. Yeah, and like to reach this point, we also have the bounty board, right, to take on like the ideas that if we don't have bandwidth to work on. So yeah, definitely, Mike, if share your big vision and big bets, with as many people as you can. Or the earlier, the better. Yeah, so we can all work towards to make those things happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. With that being said, yeah, do we have any like questions? Folks want to address in this call?
Maybe there are questions in the chat from the audience. We can check that. Gives people some minutes to write some questions if they have any.
Yeah, haven't seen a question. Yeah, but like for audience, if you have questions, yeah, let us know. Yeah, or you can like speak up. Yeah, we still have a few minutes.
Doesn't look a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Maybe everything is clear.
Seems things are clear. Awesome, cool. Yeah, so like yeah, I actually write down a few action items from the meeting, so I will share with you all later. Yeah, but I think this a good meeting, like a good discussion, and yeah, like yeah, just let me know if you have questions. I think it's let's just keep having those healthy conversations. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for hosting.
Great. Oh, thanks everyone.
Thanks,
Your
everyone.
first meeting has been a success. So there you go. Congrats.
Well done, Shilin.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for the help.
And I'll get
Awesome.
the recording sent to you, Jiling, shortly.
Yeah. Awesome.